Okay, so now we're going to be working on our annotated bibliography. Research is not a surgical strike. You cannot just go in, get what you need, and leave again without touching anything else. Research is really messy and you end up getting a whole lot of stuff and you don't use it all. But if you don't go looking for a whole lot of stuff, then you end up missing the really good stuff, the golden nuggets. So, what this annotated bibliography is going to do is it's going to encourage you to go out and look at a lot of different stuff so you can get the best stuff for your speech. So, how are we going to do that? Well, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to review the different types of evidence because that's what you're going to look for when you go out into the world to do your research. And you remember there are 6 types, and we had the acronym SCENTD. So this S stood for statistics. Remember those number things, the numbers, the percentages. And the C stands for compare and contrast because we learn things by comparing what we know to what we don't know, or comparing what we don't know to what we do know. And then we have examples. And you remember what N stands for? Narratives are stories. Remember in the ethos, logos, and pathos, and he's talking about those concrete examples where they use stories and names of people to develop that pathos, to develop that emotion. That's what narratives are. The T stands for testimony. And the last one, D, is for definitions. Those are the 6 things we're going to look for. So in our bibliography, as we're searching, we're going to be looking for those specific things. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to record that information in a document called an annotated bibliography. And for this, we're going to use Microsoft Word. And you could use EasyBib. I know you're familiar with EasyBib, but what drives me crazy about EasyBib is all those advertisements, and then you have to wait and wait. And with Microsoft Word, it walks you through the same things, and you don't have to wait. So I have information from this article over here, Stonehenge Begins to Yield Its Secrets. So what we're going to do, I picked out 3 pieces of information. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to decide whether it's statistics, compare and contrast, examples, narrative, testimony, or definitions. So here I have, my first one is Timothy Darville of Bournemouth University, who conducted a small excavation at Stonehenge in 2008, has a different idea about the monument's significance, pointing to the blue stones, which he said were not added to the monument until the second phase around 2500 BC, and in legend possess healing powers. Those stones are pretty special, Dr. Darville said. Perhaps their significance wasn't fully understood. So, the word here that really catches my eye is this different idea. So, most people think that Stonehenge is about calendar things and celebrating the summer and the solstices and so, but this is a different idea. So I'm going to mark this as compare and contrast, like that. Just put a C right there. Now, my next piece of evidence here is right here, begins right here. I'm going to put a little space there so you can see that. Michael Parker Pearson of University College London has excavated houses at Durrington Walls and along the nearby River Avon. And he has proposed this is where the builders lived for the grandest stage of Stonehenge's construction, which started about 2600 BC. The giant stones weighing some 40 tons were moved and carved He believes smaller bluestones, about 2 tons each, had been taken to Stonehenge during the initial construction from the Preseli Mountains in Wales, and now more larger ones were hauled over. Okay, so, and that's where that piece of evidence ends, right there. So what I'm looking at here is this is this guy's theory, and although it's not directly quoted, it is paraphrased. So I'm going to mark that a T for testimony. And then this last piece of evidence that I picked up, Stonehenge was constructed in multiple stages, evolving from a Neolithic earthen ring around 3000 BC to an elaborate bronze stone circle raised and rearranged from about 2600 to 1600 BC. Well, that's not a statistic, and it's not compare and contrast. It's not really testimony or narrative or example, but it does describe what Stonehenge was at 3000 BC and then later at 2600 to 1600 BC. So I'm going to mark that as a definition. Okay, so I've identified my evidence, my 3 pieces of evidence. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up here to the reference, and I'm going to insert a citation, and I'm going to add a new source. And this is not a book because you can see over here it's off a website. Okay, and so it is there we go, a website. And I'm going to put in his name, and I have to put it in last name first. So it's C-H-A-N-G, comma, Peter. The name of the web page. Is this the, wait, is this the one I want? I want document from a website. There we go. So you want to choose document from a website for your pages. You want your name of your web page. And here I'm going to put the article, the article's title. Stonehenge begins to yield its secrets. And you notice that I capitalized every letter in the title that was capitalized. The name of the website, right up here, the New York Times. New York Times. The is an official part of its name. The year is down here. You can see that was 2015. The month was November. And the day was the 9th. The year access, this is 2018. We're still in April. And today is the 30th. And this is an article. And if you notice, I'm going to capitalize that. If you notice, every field you go to, it gives an example of it right down here. Okay, so I'm going to say okay. So I've added this source. Now I'm going to go back up here to reference, insert citation, and I'm going to choose Chang, and I'm going to put it right there after every piece of evidence. Why not write it yourself, you say? Because we'll want Microsoft Word to automatically create our Works Cited page. Ooh, see, that showed up there because my cursor was there the first time, because I wasn't smart enough to move my cursor to the end of where I wanted it to put. I just was anxious to get where I was going. So I'm just going to go ahead and highlight that and delete it. There we go. Okay, so that is this article. Now I also have a book written by Peter Henshaw. And so, oh, look, I already put my evidence in here. Okay. So this is a statistic. We have barbarians, and something interesting I found out about barbarians is because we always think of barbarians as these uncouth warriors that fight all the time, but really a barbarian means that they just did not have a written language. So barbarians in England created over 600 stone circles that required many people to move huge stones long distances. This feat, as well as the construction, also required a basic knowledge of civil engineering. Dr. Alexander Thom surveyed 300 sites of circles, standing stones, and other alignments. He discovered a measurement that was used over and over again, the megalithic yard, which is 2.72 feet. This measurement was used along with a knowledge of geometry to create perfect ellipses and ovoids 1,000 years before the birth of Pythagoras, the father of geometry. Well, that's pretty cool. That's a cool fact that I know I want to put in my speech. Okay, so there's a lot of numbers, a lot of statistics in here, so I mark this as a statistic. Legends about the origins of Stonehenge. He gives examples of a couple legends, so this is marked as an example. Stonehenge was carried from Africa by a tribe of giants to Ireland. Then Merlin, the wizard, transported them to where they are now. And the second one was that Merlin erected the stones, but they were stolen by the devil from an Irish woman. And then we have this last one, Sir J. Norman Lockyer, the world's first professor of astronomical physics, developed the most widely held theory of Stonehenge, that the stones of this and other circles aligned with the sun, moon, or stars on certain days of the year. This is actually one of the most popular theories because it's been around the longest. And again, he didn't directly say these words, but it's a paraphrase of his theories. So we're going to mark that as testimony right there, like that. Okay, so now just these two are marked, and I have their citations down here. So now I'm going to show you really quick how you're going to create the works cited page. You're going to go up here. Ooh, and you want to make sure this says MLA. And you want to go to Works Cited. Oh, you know what? What did I do again? I did not move my cursor where I wanted it to go. So now I have to move it down here. Okay, so you see this one's in here too, even though I didn't give you examples of it. So I'm just going to take that one out right now. Oh, you know how we can do that? Let me take this out of here altogether. And delete that. Go back up here in references. And I'm going to manage my sources. It says here that I'm using Judy Allen, but in the reality, I'm not. So I'm just going to put it over to this side. Huh. Where does it say I used it? I don't think I have. Did I put this in here somewhere, Alan? Oh, there, I put it in there. I didn't want it in there. Okay, so I'm going to take that out because I didn't really cite Erin there. That's from Chang. Okay, now I'm going to go back up here to references, check my sources. See, I'm not using her. These are the ones that I am using. And close that. References, bibliography. Oh, let's make sure my cursor's in the right place. I'm only going to make that mistake twice. Okay, so my cursor's down there. I'm going up to my references. I want to put a bibliography in, works cited page, and there. Well, Judy, what am I going to do with you? delete you right there. Okay, so, but that's not annotated. That's just a works cited page. And the annotation, it means that you put in notes about what you found. And your notes are up here. So I'm going to copy everything from Chang, just like this. I'm going to copy that. And I'm going to come down here, and underneath Chang, I'm going to do this. I'm going to tab in. I'm going to write, I found this evidence from this source, and a colon, tab in, and paste. And then I'm going to do the same thing here again. For Henshaw, I'm going to go all the way up. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to return and tab. I found this evidence from this source, and tab and paste. So now I have all my annotations, and the annotations have the name after, and that's going to be important for our next step. You're going to do this for all 10 sources. What? 10 sources, you say? I need 10 sources? Well, I want you to find 10 sources, and you're not going to use all this information, but remember, our goal is to find the best information. So you're going to have 10 sources, and you're going to find 3 pieces of evidence on or from each source. And if it doesn't have three types of evidence or 3 pieces of evidence, it's probably not a very good source. But in the end, it's going to end up looking like this. And you can see I have all this evidence to work from. And now I can really cherry pick the best evidence to make my speech the most interesting. So that's what the plan is. When you've done your 10 sources with your 3 pieces of evidence, you'll have 30 pieces of evidence to work from, and we'll use this evidence as we go on to the mind map for the next assignment. So go ahead and save this and then upload it to Schoology.